Guys, could there be something like behind, let's say, Trump calling people names? Yeah, it's hilarious. Right? Bro, I don't know how this man came up with Tampon Tim, bro, but that one may be the best one, okay? There's been a couple of them, like spread all around to different people, okay? It's funny. It works well for the purpose of like virality, right? I can imagine that it is some type of marketing strategy that is being told, to him, right? Do this. You did it one time. It seemed to get a lot of clicks and views. Do it again, right? That's how you kind of get attention. Trump has been trying to get attention and has been getting attention since the 90s. So I'm confused how some people may be confused with this. Right? But either way, name of the video is former Trump aide thinks there might be a strategy behind Trump's vulgar comments. Yeah. But like, are you new to marketing? Bro. This is a suggestion via Discord, guys.
With you. So, Jamal, let me start with you. You think when we look at what we've heard from Trump over the past few days, it is a sign that his team, his core team that is working to get him elected, even though I know there are cracks within that team of, factions, but the group, that they're concerned. Why?
Yeah, it seems to me like something has changed in the milk, right? Like they've figured out that perhaps they've got to really poke the bear, get their people excited. If he's going to be a bomb thrower, he has to keep throwing bigger and bigger bombs so that people know that that is who he is. At the same time, you saw Lindsey Graham on Sunday come out and take out hard on Republicans who were voting for Kamala Harris. And he said, you can't do this. I don't understand why you're doing this. He was really worked up about it, kind of emotional. And then J.D. Vance, at the same time, goes after Liz Cheney hard and calls her, says that she's obsessed and hateful and petty and small, all kind of words I would never use if I was trying to get a woman to like me, but he chose to use them. So it seems to me like maybe this Liz Cheney, Kamala Harris tag team they have going on might be working in some fashion.
They're terrified of it. So we saw in the GOP.
I'm not sure anyone's terrified of it. Like at all. And again, he kind of just reiterated a couple of things here. I think it's pretty obvious the reason why he's like name calling specifically. It's pretty obvious. It gets clicks. That's it.
Primaries, as many as 20% of voters turned out actively, high propensity voters, to vote against Donald Trump and cast votes for Nikki Haley. Even after she dropped out, they still turned out in Pennsylvania. So if even a fraction of those, even less than half of them, end up deciding they'll bite the bullet and vote for Kamala Harris, a Democrat, for the first time, you're talking about significant margins of places that matter. And I just want to note that last week, Donald Trump was asked on Fox and Friends how he'd reach out to Nikki Haley voters. And he used the opportunity to insult Nikki Haley and talk about how he beat her so badly in the primary. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is embracing Liz Cheney wholeheartedly. Right. I think it's a strategy that works, and he can't bring himself to be the bigger person.
Oh, and
I mean, listen, what really has the ability to break the sister code? Not much. Bro, not much. Like, are you new on this planet?
And interesting, and we're talking, that obviously impacts a whole group of voters, not just women voters. So I don't mean to imply that. I am curious.
Yeah, you're implying it because that's actually the point here, right? But all right.
Yes, though, Aaron, your view on what we've heard in these past few days, whether it be the Arnold Palmer or the, jokingly calling the podcast host, that was friendly territory, stupid, or the expletive vice president. Could there be any sort of a strategy in Trump doing all of this and speaking in this way?
Of course, there could be a strategy, and I'm sure the Trump campaign is trying to put forward a strategy, like Jason Miller said, for the president to put forward a closing argument. But instead, Donald Trump's going to do Donald Trump, and that's going to be whatever thought comes out of his mind at the moment it comes out of his mind, and he's going to say it to the American people. It's very baked in, though, into the polling. The American people at this point kind of shrug off all the bombasticness because it's a never-ending outrage cycle about him.
The American public or half of the American public?
But for Democrats right now, if they want to win this thing, they need to start paying attention to their messaging because it's contrasting right now, but not versus Trump. They're saying he is an unserious person, but what he says is very serious. Swing voters are going to say that doesn't make sense to me. And they're also going to say his policies
That's valid.
are an issue. But
that one singular statement.
In states like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Ohio, where you have competitive Senate races, you are seeing those candidates hold tight to Trump's policies and say, I supported these positions. Democrats have to find a closing arguments that's better than I'm not Trump because they can't have it both ways with voters. It won't work.
Alyssa, what do you think about this point about the politics?
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, they're going to have to. Like the same way that Trump needs to kind of lay back specifically on just the overall outright name calling, he does. Just because it gets clicks consistently, it can easily turn off people who are, moderately undecided here, guys, right? And the same thing goes for the Democrat Party. Like if you watched the DNC convention that happened a while ago now, the only thing they basically pointed out is that, hey, listen, vote for me because I'm not Trump. Bro, you're not saying anything, right? Are you going to raise my taxes or not? All right. Are you going to try to make an attempt to do anything to stop my gun ownership or not? Right? These are the things that I care about. Are you going to fix the southern border? Or not.
Well, seeing the Senate candidates that are tying themselves. They're saying, okay, you can call him unserious. You can say that how he speaks is unserious. But what he's actually saying in his policies are serious.
Well, there's no question that the Biden administration was behind on addressing the border crisis. And there's this, prevalent issue of inflation and the economy that are the top issues for voters. And Kamala Harris is trying to navigate her way out of them, put together a forward-looking economic agenda. There was this Associated Press data that showed it may be breaking through. But I want to hit on one thing that Aaron said, which I think is really well taken.
No, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Let me explain. When it comes to the economy, specifically with what Kamala Harris is attempting to offer the American population, it's going to be split down on two sides, basically. So, for example, if you are someone who does not own a house but would like to eventually own a house, or you do not have a business but you would like to start a business, then most likely Kamala Harris's tax plan is going to be great for you, right? Because again, based off of these factors, you may make underneath the amount of money that really is not going to be bothered, right? But if you do own a house, you own investments, you're in the stock market, and you already own and you are leading a business or some type of corporation, etc. Kamala Harris' tax plan is going to wreck you, bro, completely. Right? Trump's is not. See, so it's really just this here. Like either you have it already and you want to protect it, or you don't have it, but you may eventually want it. That's kind of the two camps, right? A lot of people are getting caught up with the names and the parties, et cetera, et cetera. They're not as important as you literally think. Both of the people that are basically running are just figureheads. You need to kind of get into the kind of meat and potatoes of the situation. Which camp do you fall in? If you could break it down like that, we can have less like vitriol on the political sphere, guys.
It's baked in what Donald Trump is going to say, but there is some wisdom and strategy to him just flooding the zone with crazy. Talking about the silly Arnold Palmer story means we're not talking about him saying he'd use the American military against U.S. citizens, which, by the way, I was in the Oval Office when, in front of Mark Milley and General Esper, Mark Milley and Mark Esper, he wanted to use the military against U.S. citizens. This is a real thing that happened in his last term, and he would absolutely do again.
And he wants different conversation. I mean, you mentioned...
Okay, now obviously the American population, we do know that he said that. It's crazy. All right. That is absolutely wild. I just found out that he actually did say that, heard it out of the horse's mouth. Was it yesterday? Didn't know that. Obviously, people say a lot of things. I generally don't believe nothing anyone says, ever, right? But he said it out of his mouth. That's crazy. Bro, you are wild for that. I'm going to go ahead and point that out. But now saying it and actually doing it, because she's kind of making it seem like he actually was attempting to do it, that may be slightly different here. But again, I would like to have some insight, right? Explain all that happened around that very specific moment, rather than just saying that this happened and expecting us to believe it.
The AP poll, Jamal, can I just ask you about that? Because this was, we would talk about there were two areas where Trump specifically significantly outpolled Harris, and that was immigration and the economy.
Immigration.
All right, Alyssa mentioned this, so let's just go through the numbers. AP poll, Harris now leading by double digits on who voters trust more on middle-class taxes, and she's up 5 points on the issue of housing costs, which they had been...
Okay, let me look at this really quickly. Middle-class taxes? The problem is that I think we need to all come to terms with what exactly is middle class in 2024, right? I think people that are making 50, 60, assume that they are middle class. And I think that is what's leaning to these numbers being the way they are, right? Because I can pretty much tell you this right now. I think if you're making less than $400,000, I'm not sure that you're middle class in 2025. That may sound crazy. That may be a crazy number, right? I'm sure people are gonna be like, "Oh no, in the state of Alabama, it's like 70." Listen, I get it, bro. But people are currently making $100,000 a year and struggling. Okay, they're making 150 and struggling. Household income and struggling. I'm almost like, I mean, bro, 400,000. Do I have any stats to back this up? No, I'm just telling you based off of what I've seen. I'm going to go ahead and probably forecast it's middle class probably starts at 400 right now in 2025 with all the like social media influencers, et cetera, I'm going to say 400. And I think if that number was spoken about, this whole thing would be completely, I think probably reversed slightly, right? Unless they're just stuck in echo chambers. That could be a thing also. Housing costs, she's definitely going to raise housing costs. With what she's attempting to do in the real estate industries, by giving people like a $20,000 or so loan, down payment for the loan, but you don't have to pay it back, like a grant maybe. That's crazy, because all I'm going to do is raise the prices on my houses. Right? Because now I get a free 20,000. I'm telling you, that's exactly what's going to happen. And if he could force Jerome Powell to do something with, no, I think lowering the interest rates would do the same exact thing. I think so, actually. But if we can actually figure out the 10-year Treasury bonds along with Jerome Powell and the interest rates, I'm pretty sure he would probably be more likely to get something done with that, because he's a businessman. We need money to be cheaper, if that makes any sense, right? Gas and groceries, I think Trump will do the same thing on this one here, higher percentage. And this is just based off of just understanding what they represent for the economy.
Been doing a tit for tat of, frankly, specific policy, one of the few areas. Whether it was realistic on either side is a separate point. She's within the margin of error now on the cost of groceries and gas. I mean, Jamal, that's huge.
Yeah, it is. Now, I say this when the polls are bad, so I'm going to say it when the polls are good. This is just one poll. But if this direction is real, what we're seeing is Kamala Harris closing the gap on economic numbers. That is very significant, because if she's moving toward Donald Trump and either tying him or getting a little ahead, plus you add in abortion and you add in democracy, which is the key points that some of her voters are saying they want to vote on those issues. If that happens, you start to lose a path for Donald Trump on Election Day to get people to want to vote for him. What is
the bias is real.
The argument if they think Kamala Harris is as good as he is on the economy, and we don't have to have foolishness on TV every night when our kids are in the kitchen while we're trying to make dinner.
So, and it is different groups. I mean, Aaron, on the economy, Trump's clearly noticing it, right? He had originally been the one who brought up the idea of not taxing tip income when he was trying to win over Nevada voters. Recent swing state poll today, I'm sorry, showed Nevada tied a dead heat 48-48. But he's been, trying to reach out on economic issues when he thinks it can move the needle. He clearly sees a problem there. I just want to play this exchange today that he had about eliminating federal income taxes.
Oh, wait a second.
Do you think it's possible to find a way to eliminate federal taxes?
There is a way.
No tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. No tax on overtime.
We will make interest on car loans fully deductible.
We will have no tax on tips.
I mean, do I think that that's going to be a thing? Listen, everything that he just said would be beautiful. I hate taxes, right? I'm sorry. I don't live in the United States of America, enough throughout the entire year for me to utilize all the things that my money is basically being wasted on. And the problem is that I pay way too much money in taxes. I'm not really partial to that. Corporate tax is a little bit crazy right now, guys. I'm not happy. All right. And so yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would love to get rid of all those taxes, but then here it comes. There are a lot of things that utilize these taxes also, guys. Right? And we do kind of need some of these things, but I do think that, I don't know, bro. Maybe people shouldn't get tax refunds. Ban tax refunds. Start right there. Okay, ban them. Right, if so, make things equal. If I have to pay taxes every single year for the last 2 decades, okay, and never receiving a singular refund, if I have to pay taxes, everyone should be paying taxes. Make it fair. Make it fair.
Okay, Aaron, obviously those are big promises. A lot of people like what they hear on that. It's all completely unreasonable to happen in a short time frame.
It's completely unreasonable. I know.
Just that's the economic reality. Some of them, though, could. I mean, does Does Trump mean what he says here, or is this now just, I'm going to give a laundry list of every single thing I can think of?
In this instance, there is a reality where some of these could definitely become law. The 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act has a lot of provisions that are going to sunset and expire in 2025. Tax legislation is going to happen in the United States, and that could mean everything from income tax, sure. It could also mean the child tax credit. It could mean starting businesses. It can mean saving for your child's future. Things that we saw in the 2017 bill that will sunset. So yes, there are economic provisions here that could actually become law. Kamala Harris herself has obviously indicated that she's supportive of the no tax on tips as well. So the matter is, what do you want the economic policy and tax policy to look like in the United States? Because both of these people will have a real opportunity to do that in 2025.
Aaron, I will just say here, voters have a good sniffer on them, and they can smell BS. At some point, they know you can't eat chocolate and not work out.
Something about this man I don't really like.
And not get fat, right? At some point, you have got to figure out.
What, you can't just take the abs?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, bro. There's something
At
like
some point,
weak
you got
about
to
him.
get money into the government to pay for the things that we have. So if you're promising to take away all the taxes, how are we going to pay for our government?
That's valid, right? That's absolutely valid. Other than the fact that we just consistently, print money, right? There are other things that actually fund the tax bills, let's say. But yeah, I mean, I do think though, again, if you want to solve the problem, stop the concept of refunds. No more tax refunds if everyone can't get a tax refund. All right, I don't like that. This is not fair. All right, if we're going to fiend an egalitarian nightmare, right, then we might as well, in fact, make sure everyone gets a refund, right, and not leave the people that have worked really, really hard in life, right, like unnecessary amounts of time. Okay, were like, I don't know, like, don't leave these people out. Okay, if you want to give things away to people all day long, give them to everybody. Right, we'll go down like a sinking ship. Okay.
Well, I mean, Alyssa, can I ask you one thing about what happened at McDonald's? You had Tim Walz on The View today, and I know you were talking about the McDonald's visit. I'm sorry. At a fundraiser, he slammed Trump's visit by saying he looked as dumb as I thought he would, which, I mean, might not be, this is the same crassness of Trump, but, this is the discourse that we're hearing now. And he had an exchange with you about it, and I wanted to play it.
What do you say to these Americans who feel like they're struggling?
Yeah, well, if they're saying they are, they are. And I think for all of us of prices being out there, I think that's why Vice President Harris has made it very clear that that is a top priority. Vice President Harris and I grew up middle class. We understand that. She actually worked in a McDonald's. She didn't go and pander and disrespect McDonald's workers by standing there in your red tie and take a picture. His policies are the ones that undermine those very workers that were in that McDonald's.
What's interesting is, as a matter of fact, hold on.
Okay, the whole thing about the McDonald's.
Talk about it at the end.
And who worked at a McDonald's and who didn't, and
I just don't
fries
care.
Don't get touched.
Guys,
thank God.
about this.
Does this move voters though? Is anybody moving on this?
Listen, I'm fascinated by this. Donald Trump used to be kind of the master of the OTR. He'd show up somewhere, shake hands with workers, but this was a pre-staged event where they had people who were supporters come through, and then he didn't have a policy proposal. He wasn't saying, "Oh, we're going to raise the minimum wage." So I think it fell flat unless you're somebody who's a meme bro who's already with him and liked the picture of it. But I do think we're
a meme bro. And that's exactly how I feel generally about the supporters of Kamala Harris in general. It's all the sister code nonsense, guys. That's what it is. Just like how she just randomly had to throw out a jab towards men. This is kind of why I pretty much stand steadfast in my belief here that the Democrat Party almost exclusively is not a party for straight men. Period. I don't know why you're there. What are you getting from it? What, hearing this open misandrist talking all day long, guys? Is that what we're talking about here? Open misandry. CNN. All right.
Unless you're somebody who's a meme bro who's already with him and liked the picture of it. But I do think where Harris Waltz are outperforming Biden is acknowledging that people are hurting. That was the struggle that Biden had. Is it was inflation is high, but listen, we feel that it may be getting better, but people are truly hurting, and we're here to show up and relate to those issues they're struggling with.
All right, Alyssa, Jamal, Aaron.
Okay, guys, listen. So if we can just, for a second, I guess, disregard the virtue signaling consistently happening, honestly, from both sides here. I think we need to sit here and we can be kind of logical about this here. There are a lot of people who are voting against the left that are going to be almost exclusively voting against their interest. They do not own homes, okay? And they do not own businesses. So that just almost by definition means you are, in fact, voting against your interests, right? But I get it. I mean, the optics of the current left is absolutely atrocious, all right? It's pretty much consistently anti-man. If you're a man, your masculinity is toxic. Please don't be so masculine. That's the energy that I kind of get from here. And deleting babies. That's basically the current optics of the left. That's all they represent. That's it. There's nothing else. It doesn't seem like it, right? And on the right, like specifically, if you are someone who owns a house, you own a business, so you're paying taxes for said business. I can't imagine why you would even involve yourself with the left, right? You like self-inflicting punishments. I'm guessing, right? You like paying more money in taxes. Do you really? Do you really like paying more money in taxes? Or is someone in your household basically coercing you to vote for whatever they feel is correct, based off emotions, most likely? Which one is it? Because, looking at it, that's really kind of what it comes down to. I've been saying this now for the last couple of weeks now, guys. Egalitarianism versus a meritocracy. Which society is more perfect for you? If you have $1,000 and you have 4 people in the house, give everyone $250. Egalitarianism, right? Oh, but wait, but I worked for that. I deserve that. Meritocracy. All right, guys, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.
Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.